Around 1916, when the Great Migration began, a factory wage in the urban North was typically 3 times more than what blacks could expect to make working land in the rural South. And in this film, we will discuss how Jim Crow affected the content of the literary works of the Harlem Renaissance. This was a movement of 1.6 million African Americans moving from the rural South, spanning the 1920s to the mid-1930s. The Harlem Renaissance was a literary, artistic, and intellectual movement that kindled the new black cultural identity. Critic and teacher Elaine Locke summed up the essence of Harlem Renaissance around 1925 when he declared that through art, Negro life is seizing its first chances for group expression and self-determination. Harlem became the center of a spiritual coming of age in which Locke's New Negro transformed social delusionment to race pride. The New Negro movement was centered in the Harlem neighborhood of New York City. Artists like Ann Spencer and Claude McKay, which spoke candidly about the treatment of African Americans in his poem, The White City. If this dark passion that fills my every mood and makes my heaven in the white world's hell did not forever feed me vital blood, I see the mighty city through a mist. Other profound wordsmiths like Gwendolyn Bennett and Jean Tomer that would pass for white when he saw it convenient. But he was aware of the struggle and made it very clear when he wrote the book Cain, which housed one of the most profound pieces of poetry I had ever heard about plotting against our people. Blood-burning moon, red nigger moon, sinner. Blood-burning moon, sinner. Come out that factory door. Jesse Redmond Fawcett and Langston Hughes, who was nicknamed the O. Henry of Harlem, when he came to prominence as a premier African-American poet in the late 1920s and early 1930s, many of his poems express anger over the inequalities that African Americans faced in society. He hit the country with books with such titles as The First Book of Negroes and the collected poems of Langston Hughes with powerful pieces. Zora Neale Hurston traveled to Harlem in 1925 to take part in the self-consciously created Harlem Renaissance with $1.50 and no job. She became one of the prominent new Negro artists who formed the focal point of the Harlem Renaissance. Georgia Douglas Johnson, the only woman of the Harlem Renaissance that actually posted and published collections of verses between 1918 and 1928. In her Heart of a Woman and Other Poems, another published work was the book called Bronze and An Autumn Love Cycle. After her husband's death in 1925, Johnson began holding a salon in her Washington home on Saturday nights, an event that was attended regularly by Jean Tomer, Elaine Locke, Jesse Redmond Fawcett, as well as Langston Hughes, all of whom later described literary evenings as important to their development and the nurturing of their projects. Today's spoken word poetry, the artistic utilization of spoken word genre in black culture today draws and reflects a richly literary and musical heritage from the Harlem Renaissance.